In our previous video, we tried getting the SPA authentication from the server to work and failed miserably. The Azure AD authentication works in the production mode, but not with the Vite dev server, and we couldn't find a way to get the existing methods to work despite putting 3.5 days of work into it. So instead of using that challenge async on the server, we are going to put in some extra effort and find a way to implement authentication on the client. We'll deal with the redirects there, get the cookie, and use it to authenticate on the server. Yeah, we know this is a huge bother, but having the Vite dev server operational during dev time will be hugely beneficial in the future. We have to do it. And so we shall. Usually we'd start by setting up a new project, but the one we had in part 5 is useless, so we might as well use it as a base. We'll modify the authentication middleware to either let the request pass or forbid it. Because the redirects to fetch requests will be rejected by the browser, we can't do challenges that require them. Next, let's see. That Azure AD login info will be needed on both the client and the server, so we'll factor it out and put it into the shared project. We probably won't need the callback paths. Those are appended in the redirect URI, and we won't be doing the redirects anymore on the server, so we'll start out by not passing them into the option properties. If it complains, we can always put them back in. We'll leave testing this for later. Next, let us introduce Msal, which is short for the Microsoft Authentication Library. As you can guess, this is what we'll be using to get the tokens and redirect the user to the login page. If we were writing straight up JavaScript or TypeScript, we'd just install the package, but since we are using Fable, we'll have to get those as well as the Fable bindings for it. Let's look for them on NuGet. We haven't tried any of these so far, so let's go with the Feliz React one as it has been updated recently. Thankfully these exist, otherwise we'd need to write our own bindings. Since we are using Packet, we'll use Packet add instead of NuGet add, but otherwise we'll follow the instructions. Currently, Femto doesn't work with .NET 7, so we're using npm install instead. With that done, let us focus on the docs next. We have the packages installed, so what we need is to look at the examples. One thing that sticks out is that store auth state in cookie property. We'll probably want to set that to true, but this example is not enough. We're using single tenant authentication instead of B2C. Let's pause here and see if we can find something better. We had time to go over these briefly yesterday, and our conclusion is that it won't be hard to use at all. We just need to follow the docs and everything will fall into place. As our first step, let us focus on making that Msal client. We'll be using it to log into Azure AD and get the JWT token. Maybe we'll move it somewhere else later, but for now let's try putting all the initialization logic in the init function. We're done. Hope you've enjoyed the pleasant sounds of Donkey Kong while we worked in the background. Patiently and relentlessly, we struggled without rest, but finally we succeeded in finishing the project. Those like and subscribe buttons aren't going to click themselves. If you made it this far, you owe it to us to click on them. We can't believe it took us a whole week just to get a single login page done. It's ridiculous. Well, now that we know all this, we could do it in half an hour. This experience serves as a reminder that our fundamental programming skills do not have much to do with the challenges we are facing. What we need is the patience of a Buddha. Now that we know how to authenticate, we can move on to more interesting things. In the next video, we'll want to look into web storage. And after that, what we want to look into are payments. PayPal, Stripe, and the like. Suppose you want to build a store, how would you charge your customers? In this series, we want to move beyond just playing around and create something we can sell, whether that be a subscription or some other kind of paid content. We are curious how that could be done, and if you are as well, hold on to your papers. We'll be back before you know it.